Fire away.
Grace, what did you think about the reception? What you saw from the bus rolling in, and just what you've seen? I know you've been all over the place.
Yeah, I went and did something I never thought I'd have an opportunity to do. I went to a chickpea/garbanzo bean factory, and I understand this is one of the world's most fertile areas for producing those, and that was really cool. I have a great Washington State booster who has that business, who rolled out the crimson carpet, as it were. The reception has been overwhelming, and it's been, I think that we all knew it would be cool and great and kind of over the top, but it has exceeded anything we could have imagined coming in. And I mean, from the athletic director, Pat Chun, to joining Mike on his coach's show last night, to just people, stopping us in the hotel and on the street and in restaurants and stuff, saying that they're glad we're here. It's very gratifying because we know that while we're certainly proud of the place that College Game Day has taken and landscape and the history of college football, we know that the reason they're excited is because they want to showcase their pride in their program and their university, and we're happy to be a part of that.
Give you any sense as to what the scene might be like tomorrow morning?
Well, I can say this. I got called out on Twitter. I would like the record to reflect that I did not imbibe one drop of that fireball they put in front of me. So I think when they started sliding me fireballs at the coaches' shows, and I got a pretty good idea that there's going to be some intensity in the wee hours here in Pullman on Saturday morning, but that's just the way we like it. So we're very careful and cognizant not to go so far overboard, and remember that we do this every week, that the show's for everybody across the nation, but there might be a few more elements of capturing the essence and the flavor and what we like to refer to as sense of place here than maybe on most weeks anyway. That's fairly normal when we go to a place where we haven't been, though, because you want to show people what it's like. And I think the crowd that we're expecting is going to do a really good job of showing people what it's like here.
You kind of touched on it a bit, but just your thoughts on the Old Crimson for 15 years, man, has been there.
Isn't that incredible? I mean, that's an incredible story, and there are passionate fans in all sports, but there's nothing quite like college football that can bring out that level of devotion. I mean, Tom Pound started this, he's kind of the godfather of the flag, and he waved it first, although he didn't start the streak. But, he was kind of financing doing this on his own for a long time because he loved Washington State. And then all of these other folks that have waved the flag, who we're going to showcase a lot of them on Saturday morning, did it because they love their school, love their team. Even when there have been lean years here, they still love them. And it's really cool, and I mean, to do it every week, and not even the week that it got lost, that whoever it was, whichever shipping service lost it, or they didn't totally lose it, that would imply that they never found it. But they didn't have it to get it there on time, and we pulled the one out of the cafeteria at ESPN and made sure that it got there, and they've moved mountains to keep the streak going, and I think the thing I'm most pleased we're here. Secondly, I'm most pleased that they say the streak is not going to end on Saturday, that they're going to continue to do it. It's part of the show, and I love it, and I hope they continue to do it from now on.
Where does this rank in terms of reception for the first time ever being to a place compared to other places?
I've done the show for 4 years now, and I would say the only thing in terms of pre-show reception that has rivaled it has been our 2 trips to James Madison. Those they probably had 15,000 or so people before the show, and then I don't know, they had several thousand out waiting on the bus, much like you guys did. That week I had something with a performance to go to with my daughter. I typically come in on Thursday. That week, the first time to James Madison, I came in early Friday morning. There was nothing going on yet on the quad at James Madison, and it was packed, with people who were excited about the show being there. Very similar vibe here to that in terms of people excitement. And when Pat Chun and I were riding around town yesterday, and I stopped and asked some of the students, "Hey, you guys coming to game day?" They looked at me like I had 12 heads. Like, what do you mean? Of course we're going to be here. So it's pretty exciting for all of us.
What's something about Pullman that sticks out, especially for your first time here?
I think just the beauty of the area, number one. I think the the dedication that people have and the pride that they have in their school, and then getting to sign my name at the Coug. That was kind of cool too. So.
Leach mentioned you guys have a pretty well documented history. What's your favorite memory that you could share publicly with Leach?
Of Leach?
Yeah.
Oh, there have been several of them. For whatever reasons, never really planned, but he and I wound up together in the aftermath of a couple of National Football Foundation dinners. I was one year at the Preakness. I don't remember which year. It might have been, unfortunately, it might have been the Barbaro year, but I don't know for sure. But I kind of wound up where he was there. And it's always great to talk to him about what his next project is. But I think the one thing I remember about him is, this is one of the first times we wound up together. We were sitting there talking and having a good time. And he goes, "Hey, you know what?" He goes, I want to do a better job with those halftime interviews or pregame interviews." Right before, he said, when the sideline reporter comes up to me and and asks me, what we need to do or whatever, he goes, "But all I can ever think of is I want to score a lot of points." So I don't know why, but I've always laughed about that over the years, because I told him, I said, "Well, Mike, that's kind of the answer to the question, isn't it?" So, but I find him engaging. I think I said this last night on his coach's show. We get a kick out of him because of the tangents that he goes off on. I mean, this guy is ridiculously smart. He is very intelligent. He's never boxed in to think about things in a certain way, and I think that's what makes him an offensive genius and what's made him a great leader. And his teams always play hard for him, and it's he's refreshing in a world in which all of us live now. All of us that do this, we parse every syllable that people say, and the ones that we say are also parsed, and that makes people hesitant. And so you have an entire majority, not generation, of coaches who are very well schooled on what exactly they should say, and we're going to play hard, try to be sound in the kicking game, and all. And Mike just says what he thinks, and that's really, really refreshing and cool, and I think it has served him well.
Is there a bit of irony that you have lost to Oregon and that gave you the World Series?
You sound like one of our coordinating producers who's been dying lousy to get the doinked field goal on, just to troll them a little bit. He said, "Oh, they hate Washington." I'm like, "I know, we all know that, So, but yeah, I mean, I think they should say thank you. Although, let the record reflect that I was pushing hard this weekend. Not just me. Let me rephrase it. There were several of us who believed that the trip here was not dependent solely on the outcome of that game. There's no question it pushed it over the top. We might as well be honest about that. But I sort of put it out there as, hey, look, this is going to be a great scene. I think we ought to consider going, no matter what happens, between Oregon and Washington last week.
I just wanted your thoughts. Oregon, obviously, they get a lot of attention. They got Phil Knight. They got the new flashy uniforms every week. What do you think about being able to come here to a team, to WSU for this game?
Well, you mean in terms of just kind of...
Yeah, Oregon always seems to get all the
reputations or
attention.
something?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, they've built their brand on that, and they've done a great job of it. I think they found something that resonated with people. I think that's a little more difficult to do now, because a lot of teams have alternate uniforms that are changing up all the time. I think the one thing that they've done, though, as I get into the college football fashion police, is no matter what Oregon has done, when you flip by, you go, "Oh, that's Oregon." They could be wearing, purple polka dots, and you'd go, "That's Oregon," because they've established a look. Some teams just put on stuff, and you don't know who's that. And so I think they've done a really good job of staying on brand. Their brand's always been cool and edgy. So they've gotten a lot of attention because of it, but you only get attention for those types of things if you also win. And they've won huge. When Chip was there, and I think Mario is doing a great job and kind of reinventing them a little bit. They dialed back and streamlined the uniform combinations and kind of gone back to basics and want to get a little tougher, kind of fitting with Mario's background and personality. And I think they've earned everything they've gotten, just to be honest about it.
Last one. What jumps out to you about the matchup tomorrow?
I beg your pardon?
What jumps out to you about the matchup tomorrow?
I think the biggest thing to me is, will Washington State be able to control Herbert and Mitchell? They've been very disruptive on defense. They've given up some points, I know, but they're disruptive. Can they create some negative plays? We saw there's no reason in the world Oregon Oregon shouldn't have beaten Stanford, but they made critical errors. You know, Ken Washington State, with their disruptive style of defense, caused those types of errors. The flip side of it is I think Oregon is a little bit better on defense than people might realize. They have their linebackers are really good. Washington State has a variety of targets. What is it, like 6 guys have caught like 24 balls or something like that. That's balance. I've been taught since there's not 50-50 run pass. Get the ball to a lot of people. So, you know, I think those are the things. Is like, you know, can Washington State disrupt Oregon's offense, force them into mistakes, and then can they capitalize on it by being as efficient as Gardner and all of his guys have been so far this year? You had one. Did you have one?
Yeah, I'll throw it out there.
Okay.
We've been hearing about what it's like for the first time for Washington State to have this. With a crew, sometimes you end up at the same place a couple times, and there's nothing like the first time. What is it like?
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah. Is
He
this
warned
streaming live?
my PR guy warned me this was streaming live, and I still didn't stop. I'm sorry.
We'll assume the best.
Okay.
Does it kind of reinvigorate everybody as a crew coming in, where you see the welcome and you're reminded why you guys do this?
Yes, is the short answer, and I'm not trying to be flippant about it. It's, I think we always appreciate and recognize the privilege that we have of being part of this show and being part of this sport that we all dearly love. You know, I've said many times, I think most of us would be very lousy in any other walk of life because we waste our employers' time talking about college football, you know. So we're blessed and fortunate to be able to do this. But you're right, the, you know, second trip in 5 weeks to Columbus, you know, the, you know, 4th time in 2 years to Alabama, you know, their fans are used to it. And that's not a knock, that's life, that's the way it is. When you come to a different place and you see that, you know, people who haven't had the show there care about the show and care about the sport and are glad you're there, that's energizing, man. It's fun. I mean, you always bring your A game. I mean, you guys all know that. You're all pros. You do your dead level best every second of every show. But I'm not gonna lie, there'll be some adrenaline when I walk out there tomorrow morning and people are, you know, as far as you can see, I hope, and are being loud and rowdy and having fun. That's energizing, man. It's fun. You bet. All right, guys.